Hello out there, my YouTube friends. It's been quite some time since I've made a video, maybe a month or two or three or four. Not really sure. I've been traveling, been out and about, also been avoiding looking at screens as much as possible, but it isn't quite exactly fully possible as here we are right now. A screen looking at a screen in a dream. So today, I figure I would sort of do an impromptu kind of lesson talk about the old guitar, and I'm just gonna have to connect psychically with someone's question out there. So go ahead and drop a question right now, send it back through time. Okay. Oh, we're gonna talk about the thing I always talk about. We're gonna talk about thirds. Right? Can you find a third from any old place? Like if I'm on this low F sharp here, can I find the third here? Some octaves away, right? Not here or here, but here. There we go. Finding the major third, that is, in this case. I'm finding those major thirds so I can build something around it, right? Because the third, why would I find a third, right? Why the third? Why so much talk of thirds? Well, they're very character defining. They shape the quality of the old harmony to a high degree. Of course, every other interval does shape the quality, we can say, but there's something about thirds. They're very defining, but also enriching. They're not as, simple sounding as a fifth or an octave, right? Thirds are a little more juicy. How about a scale in thirds separated by an octave? Right, that's a major scale in thirds, ascending, descending. How about doing it all in the same area, right? The same area more or less. And then dancing around that third. Whoopsie. There it is. And nope. Finding those thirds, they also just sort of spontaneously produce melody, right? Thirds, I'm sure maybe some of you have heard about harmonizing a scale in thirds. We want to do that. We want to be able to take a set of notes, whatever that set may be, in this case, A major, and we want to get acquainted with the hopscotch in there. Right. Now, of course, if you're listening to this, maybe you have your guitar in your hands like a good student. You're not just living vicariously through me, watching this on the old WhoTube, the MeTube, the iTube, or the YouTube, right? You don't want to live vicariously through me. You want to practice your old music, get acquainted with the old sounds, get this guitar closer to you and who you are as a incarnated mystery of reality. So finding those thirds, right? Finding those thirds, very important. Can you do them on a single string? Can you go? Don't do that. You want to go? There it is. Right. All the ways we can approach thirds, right? On the adjacent string. C. Alright, can you put the third on the bottom? How many thirds are there? Are there 3/3? Generally, we're used to 2/3, right? 2/3 of 3/4, right? Actually, what I mean to say is, right, we're used to 2/3, the major third and the minor third. If I'm in A, the major third would be A and C sharp. The minor third would be A and C, or, right, all these minor thirds, wonderful. But did you know there's some other thirds? Did you know, in very rare circumstances, there's an augmented third? An augmented third. Some of you will say, oh, that's perfect fourth. But it's not a perfect fourth, because an augmented third is not perfect. It certainly isn't. Also, did you know there's such a thing as a diminished third? Did you know? For instance, D sharp. Oh, no, wait, what would I? For instance, B to D flat. That would be a diminished third, B natural to D flat. Did you know about that? Did you know? It's pretty cool, pretty rad, pretty right on, man. Okay. So anyway, we're at 6 minutes and 20-some seconds into this existence. And, you know, talking about the thirds, and I was running there through the major scale, for some reason in A. This really isn't a third. That is like the sound. I was talking to a student today, or the other day rather, and they were fretting to me about the challenges in improvisation, which is effectively what I'm doing right now. I'm improvising, and it is a little challenging to keep talking to you as I do this, hence the challenges of improvisation. But also notice what I'm doing. There's a very simple remedy to all improvisational quandary, or a few rather. This is an important one. What can we do when we're improvising? I guess in a sense there's 4 things. We can do the same thing again, right? Which is what I've been doing here, right? I've been playing the same thing again. We can do the same thing but differently. Effectively the same kind of thing, but different, right? We can do something else. Do the same thing again, or do nothing at all, right? We can do the same thing again, we can do the same thing differently, we can do something else, we can do nothing at all. Try hanging out with those ideas when you're trying to come up with something. Just do something again and again like this. See, I'm improvising right now. I'm going to do the same thing but different. I'm going to do something else. Very simple stuff, okay? Very simple stuff. So then I guess the question comes, well, okay, great, but when I play these chords, I still sound like garbage. So what's the remedy there? Well, you have to consider what you would like to be able to improvise with, right? Certain techniques will need to be integrated into your physiology, psychology, neurology, microbiology, for you to do, or rather for you to improvise with certain things, right? If you want to improvise in a particular musical idiom, right? If you want to be playing, you know, bebop lines, you got to study them, right? If you want to improvise them, you got to study them. You got to learn the language. If you want to improvise whatever you're trying to improvise, twangy twang twang, you know, you should study a little twangy twang twang, okay? The whole point of practice and study, as far as I'm concerned, at least in my life, right, is to craft a technique which is essentially a tool to give the improvisational spirit, to give to the improvisational spirit, right? of course, when I picked up the guitar and, couldn't do nada, eventually I learned a few things, and all of a sudden I could improvise with an A minor chord. Right? I could play with it. But I couldn't, at that time I didn't have A minor 9 chords. Couldn't play with A minor 9 chords or, A minor 11 kind of sounds. But now I can. I learned them, and now it's another tool in the old toolbox. The toolbox. Yeah, and that makes sense. So, consider, what are you practicing, which in this metaphor I'm, shaping as what tool are you crafting so that you can keep it in your toolbox, right? Keep it in your pocket, right? If you learn a particular arpeggio and get acquainted improvising with it, you can use it, you can play with it, right? You need to practice whatever you're practicing to the point that you feel comfortable playing with it, freely, without strain, without effort, without exertion. And this is also very important when it comes to practicing in general. Are you strained? Are you exerting unnecessary force? Are you silently cursing your existence? Okay? You gotta take your time. You gotta enjoy the regularity of facing your own ignorance, right? That's how you get better at music, is you got to get used to failing. You got to get used to stumbling. You got to get used to producing sounds that aren't much to your liking. But strangely enough, these sounds become more and more beautiful, not only the more you iterate them, but even more importantly, the closer you listen to the sounds that you're producing. When you practice, don't fold yourself into a purely motor skill kind of direction, right? Just running the fingers. It's important, but it's going to be 10 times more valuable if you really listen to what you're doing. Hear every imperfection. Hear every slide, right? Hear every flub. Hear every perfect tone. In fact, ask yourself, are these tones crystal clear, right? Am I really playing nice and clean, or am I a dirty hobo in the tub, right? You gotta be honest with yourself about the sounds you're producing and how they affect you, right? And I think sometimes musicians will turn the listening off because they don't like how they sound, and they may just think, oh, if I just move my fingers enough and do this enough, I'll be better. But if you don't link the motor skills and the physical activity, the physicalness of music making to the ear, you are, at the end of the day, kind of running in circles, okay? We need to expand our ears, and we do that by consciously linking our ears to whatever it is our fingers are doing. So that might mean humming what you're doing, singing what you're doing. Just the subtlest link between this and this is so important. And maybe it might sound like I'm stating something so obvious and simple, but I challenge you to check in. Are you really listening? When you pick up your instrument, how distracted are you? How much in the world of conception are you, which it will be necessary to study, of course, but are you oversaturated in conceptual thought, right? Music is about the ears, man, or woman, or they, or who, or what, or why. Whatever. If you got ears, that's where you want to put your attention. And you don't want to just hear. Ears are special, right? They're always taking in input. You want to listen, man. I'm telling you, woman, whomever you may, whatever you may be, you got to listen, okay? If you want to be a better musician, you listen, okay? Now, I'll harp on and on, but my Lord, look, if you instantly want to be a better player, instantly, like that, be a better musician in every situation you're ever in musically, check in with your listening. Are you listening? Are you conscious of what's going on in the room, the sounds you're producing, the sounds others are producing, the sound of the band, the sound of whoever's there, the recording engineer, the audience, the people in the cafe not listening to you, right? Whoever. Are you taking in the data of your life through your ears consciously? This is a secret magical superpower that many musicians leave on the table, okay? That most people leave on the table, okay? You can musicalize your life like this, okay? Without touching an instrument, right? You open your ears to the sounds around you. Your life's going to become more musical. It's going to become more harmonious. And if you happen to play music, your music's going to become something deeper. How about that? Something deeper, okay? So like that's some time. I'm going to go, and I will try and put in some more videos. I've been working on some TED stuff. I just drove across the country to all the way to Rhode Island, and then we went down the West Coast, went over to Mississippi, Alabama, went to Texas, and now I'm back. Okay, so appreciate y'all checking out my channel. You know, if you're for real about developing your skills as a musician, get in touch with me. Send me a postcard. Okay, let's talk about it. And you know, if that's too much for you, put in some honest work. Pick up your instrument, be quiet, and listen with the music you make. It'll enrich your life and the lives of those around you. I promise you that. All right, I got to go. Hanging out with this guy tonight. All right, we're doing shots. I'll see you later. Thanks for checking it out. Adios. I'm Jakob Peck.